There were quite a few times when Bernard had the distinct feeling that he was invisible, and this Saturday morning was just such a time.
Have you seen my file?
It's the weekend. You don't even have to think about work.
What?
You can fix that shelf in the kitchen. Bernard will help.
I need the big office file I was working on last night. Why are you wearing your coat?
Because I'm going out.
Oh, no, you're not. You're looking after Bernard.
I don't think so.
But I've got to go to the office. That's why I need the file.
It's Saturday.
I know that. But remember I told you about the new boss? Well, he's house hunting today. It's the only time he's in the area until he actually starts in 2 weeks' time, and he wants to see this particular file. It's our most important account. OK, why are you wearing your coat?
Because I've got a special meeting with the PTFA about the summer fair. It's the only day we could all make. It's on the calendar.
Is it?
Yes, your meeting isn't.
Yes, but... Well, I can't take Bernard with me. What will the new boss think if I turn up with a child in tow?
Well, neither can I. I think the chairperson of the PTFA is allergic to children.
Perhaps I could...
Bernard started to suggest.
Anyway, if you had an appointment, you should have put it on the calendar. That's where it
He
all
never
goes.
bothered to finish his sentence. It was quite obvious that they didn't even know that he was there. I might as well not be here, he thought.
I might as well.
But he didn't say anything. He had a much better idea. If people are going to ignore me, thought Bernard, I might as well have the world to myself, and all the time in it. And so he did. How peaceful the world is when you've got it all to yourself, thought Bernard. You can do anything you want and not bother anybody, or be bothered by them. Right now, Bernard wanted to play cricket. The best part about playing cricket on your own is that you don't have to wait for your turn to bat or bowl. Bernard imagined that there was a deathless hush in the crowd as he prepared his run up to bowl. But first he had to restart time, or the ball wouldn't be going anywhere. If Bernard the bowler was good, Bernard the batsman was even better. What a hit! A 6 for sure. Bernard the fielder will never get there in time. But out of time, now that's a different matter. What a catch! The crowd goes wild.
So it's the world's greatest fast bowler, Glenn McGrath from the pavilion end. That one is smacked up by Craig Vaughan. Loose. Inzamam El Hutton strokes that one through the offside and really swings that one away. 4 more runs.
Bernard suddenly realised he had no idea how many runs he'd made. And then he realised why. He hadn't run any. He'd been far too busy fielding. What's the point of playing cricket if you don't make any runs? Bernard asked himself. But he didn't wait for a reply. He just stopped playing. But if cricket didn't work out, Bernard had nothing to worry about. After all, he still had the world to himself, and all the time in it. He could do whatever he liked. Play on a roundabout, for instance. Bernard scooted the roundabout to get up a decent speed. The roundabout needed time to make it work, and time was something it didn't have at the moment. Bernard had all the time to himself, and he was finding it increasingly hard to do anything with it. A swing. Perfect, thought Bernard. He prepared to go high in the sky, higher than anyone else. But just like the roundabout, the swing stopped swinging. Bernard tried again, pushing harder this time. But it made no difference. The swing would not swing. It needed time to make it work properly. Perhaps I'll have more luck on the seesaw, thought Bernard. But no, the seesaw would only see, but not saw,
That other boy needs to be heavier.
Bernard said to himself.
Ah, yes, that should do it.
The cricket bag was heavy, and Bernard figured that the extra weight just might make the seesaw work if he went to the other end with the boy. At first, he looked like he might be right. But no, he was wrong. Without time on its side, the cricket bag couldn't move the seesaw. Suddenly, Bernard spotted the slide.
Of course.
The one thing in the play area that surely didn't need time to make it work. And the top of the slide was a good place to check that his cricket gear was still safe. But because Bernard was checking this, he didn't notice a small child, frozen in time, on the slide ahead of him. Phew, that was a close thing.
Help me! Somebody help me! Let me down! Somebody help me!
Bernard decided that stopping time in the play area was too dangerous. Somebody might have a nasty accident. Having all the time to yourself is all very well, thought Bernard, but it's not much fun if you can't share it.
Bernard! Bernard, come over
School
here!
pals. Now that's more like it, thought Bernard.
Are we glad to see you? We're one man short. Get your pads on, otherwise we're going to lose.
Hurry up, Bernard!
You can have a much better game of cricket with your mates, thought Bernard.
Yeah!
But only if you concentrate. The scores were neck and neck, when suddenly Kevin, who played for the school team and so was pretty good, hit a ball high into the air.
Your ball, Bernard!
Bernard started to run. If this ball went for a six, that was it. Lost the match. Disaster City. He was never going to make it. Unless...
Brilliant catch, Bernard.
Cool, we won thanks to you.
Thanks to the watch, thought Bernard. Bernard suddenly realised the time.
Oh no! Mum and Dad will kill me. I've got to go.
What about a rematch?
I haven't got time.
Bernard had actually been away from home for 2 hours. 2 hours in which his parents would have been looking for him. 2 hours of panic when they couldn't find him. But at least if he stopped time now, it wouldn't make matters any worse. And so he did. His mother and father must have been so worried about his disappearance that they had called the police. Well, if there had been any doubts in Bernard's mind that he was now the subject of a major police search, those doubts disappeared. It was obvious. Why else would they be showing a policeman a photograph of him? They'd got his school uniform, and they'd even got his cap. That would be for the sniffer dogs, thought Bernard. He'd seen things about missing children on the news. His brain began to race. Soon everybody would be looking for him. All over the country, maybe even abroad. The newspapers would get involved, even the army. And his parents would get more and more frantic.
All we want is to have Bernard back, safe and sound. He won't be in any trouble. So if anyone has any knowledge about his whereabouts, please contact us. Or the police.
And he wasn't even missing. Well, not really. What was he going to do?
Hide.
Actually, it wasn't such a silly idea as it sounded. Bernard had to find somewhere that he could have been when his parents first realised that he had gone missing. In the shower, under the bed, in the attic. The big question was where, and would they believe him when he tried to explain where he'd been?
I was leaning over the blanket box and fell in. Honestly, Mum.
Probably not. No parents would believe that, not even Bernard's. It was time to try and think sensibly. Bernard had to find out just how far the search had gone, and the best way to do that was to ask Mrs. Hewitt, their neighbour. Mrs. Hewitt seemed to be taking a long time to answer the door. But then Bernard realised he'd forgotten to unfreeze time.
Oh, hello, Bernard.
Hello, Mrs. Hewitt.
Bernard wasn't quite sure how to broach the subject.
Did you want something?
Bernard decided to just come right out with it. More or less.
Have my Mum and Dad been looking for me?
No, they haven't. Then you've only just got here, haven't you?
Yes, well, I better get home in case they're worried about me.
Right you are.
So Bernard's parents hadn't involved the neighbours, only the police. It was time to go and face the music.
I'm sure he's going to love it there.
I'm sure he will.
Oh, hello, Bernard. What have you been doing with yourself?
Been next door to Mrs. Hewitt. You haven't been worried about me, have you?
That's nice.
I'd have thought he'd been down the park with his mates. Lovely day like today.
I've been next door. You can check with Mrs. Hewitt if you like. You sure you haven't been worried about me?
Of course not. You're old enough to look after yourself now. Bernard, this is Constable Evans.
Frank, please.
His son Roger's about to start at your school.
Yes, pity you weren't here, really. We've been telling him all about it and showing him the uniform.
I must say, it looks a lot better on a person, even if it is only Bernard.
Well, thanks very much for your help. I really mustn't take up any more of your time.
It was no trouble at all.
Nice to meet you, young man.
You can get all the uniform from Hedges in the High Street. I wouldn't bother about the cap, it's not compulsory.
Bernard was rather put out. They hadn't even noticed that he hadn't been there. They just didn't care about him at all.
Now, young man.
Uh-oh, thought Bernard. Perhaps they do know that I haven't been here after all.
Are you doing anything this afternoon?
No. Why?
What was coming next, Bernard wondered.
Good, because we're going to take you into town.
But I thought you both had meetings.
Ah, yes. Mr. Phelps, my new boss, cried off. Something more important came up.
The PTFA meeting was cancelled because the chairperson's got a virus. She reckons she caught it from one of you children.
Anyway, we'd like to spend some time with our favourite boy.
We're going to take you into town for a bit of a treat.
Perhaps they do care after all, thought Bernard.
To Hedges in the High Street. I was checking your school jumper. It's in a terrible state. You're going to have a new one.
But then again, perhaps they don't.
And if you're very good, we'll buy you a new pair of trainers as well.
They do, thought Bernard. So that's all right then.